You are listening to WJRP, Philadelphia. The time is whatever the time your watch says it is. I am Doc J, your radio DJ host, here for the next 32 minutes, playing nothing but the hits, playing all those hits. I never started that radio station, but I made a podcast.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to this episode of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And hey, send me feedback. Follow along the journey. Tell a friend about the show, because that's what we're here to do. We are here to talk about career challenges and life changes. Yeah, I tell you what. Yeah, you know how these childhood dreams start. You guys know about my childhood dream about wanting to be a truck driver, and it wasn't until my 40s when I tried to get a CDL, and well, that never panned out, but that's another day. Another one of my childhood dreams was to be a radio DJ. I would sit around listening to my boombox, cutting and recording tapes, thinking that I wanted to be spinning the turntables, cutting and scratching, all that fun stuff. And sometimes these childhood dreams, you kind of put them out there in the universe and they come true. But today we're going to talk about podcasting, because it is something close to radio. And in fact, a new radio. And Forbes had reached out to me a couple weeks ago asking professional podcasters some tips about podcasting. And that's what we're going to get into in this episode. And we'll bring it back right after these messages.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee.
Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
This is Super Bowl champion Mike Logan, and you are listening to License to Live.
Hey, letting you guys know, save the date, July 13th, 14th, 15th, License to Live 2023. We'll be back in Philadelphia at the Bellevue Hotel. Stay tuned. Mark the time off on your calendar so you can plan to travel now. You know, a few years ago, I didn't even know what a podcast was. When people were talking about podcasts, I said, no, I've never listened to one. Don't plan on listening to any. Why would I want to do that? Next thing you know, little curiosity killed the cat. Next thing you know, I'm trying to put together some podcast art, putting together some episodes and some content, you know, and ultimately I'm hanging out at podcast conferences and learning more about podcasting and all of that. So from time to time, you fire starters out there, you ask for something new. You want to learn about something. And, well, hey, it's podcast time because Forbes reached out to me. We had some tips. I'll go over some of the tips. I will give a shout out to one of the known experts of podcasting who helped inspire me and many others to go along the way. We'll have some tips from him later on in the show. And hey, why not? Let's talk about how to build this show. Now, for me, I always dreamed about being on radio. You heard the intro. I mean, I already knew the station handle. It was going to be WJRP. I was going to be playing some hits. I was going to be doing this thing, talking to people, having a good old time. Because, well, that's what you knew back in the day. You knew radio for sure. I never had dreams of being on the likes of Sirius XM and being interviewed on you know, major millions of listeners media or even some time in some New York City radio stations and other radio stations all across the country at this point. But, you know, it's been something that I've liked to do, actually. I've come to the point of being a podcaster. I like talking to you guys. And even though you can't talk to me in real time, you guys send me messages and I love that. So please continue to send the messages. You can hit me up on social media at Dr. Jarrett. Spell out the word Dr. J, 2 R's, 1 E, 1 T. And we get all of that stuff going on. And so podcasting is like you know, mini radio show that you can call your very own. You can do pretty much whatever. And I don't really need to tell you guys because, well, I'm very, very thankful. Thank you very much for listening to License to Live, but I'm sure you listen to a couple of other podcasts too, and it's just a way that you entertain and inform yourself. So Forbes reached out again. You guys know I'm part of the Forbes Coaches Council, and they wanted to know some tips for beginning podcasters and what these tips would go and would need to be. So I'll talk about a few of them, and we'll get some chime in from some of our experts. But first, I just want to talk about the medium of podcasting. I mean, podcasting now, the License to Live podcast is listened to in over 20 some countries around the world. It's, you know, have most of listened to, of course, in the U.S., but shout out to Germany, shout out to Italy. You guys are rolling hard. South Africa, you've been popping up on the map. You guys roll with me. And so, you know, you build this following. And although I'm not broadcasting, well, it's on a lot of different platforms. It's on Apple. It's on you can find it in Google. You can find it many different places. In fact, iHeartRadio, one of the last times I was out in Los Angeles, was meeting with a couple of other podcasters, and iHeartRadio wanted to have this event. They brought in Paris Hilton. Shout out to Paris. Yes, a DJ. Paris Hilton went and did her thing and became a DJ, just if you didn't know. That's one of the things that she does now. So it was perfect for me to be hanging out with the people at iHeartRadio and you know, letting Paris Hilton do her thing. It was great hanging out, just watching her spin the wheels. And it took me back to those childhood days when I wanted to be on the wheels of steel. shouting all you guys out. But little did I know podcasting would become a new medium. And, shout out to iHeartMedia because, well, you can listen to License to Live on iHeartMedia or iHeartRadio too, and their whole media platform. And it ends up being a lot of fun. I like talking to you guys all the time. I like delivering a message. I like bringing guests on that have a message to share because, well, this is how we all grow. This is how we all get better. But starting a podcast isn't that difficult. You'll find that you don't need to have a lot of fancy equipment, and you can just kind of get started talking about whatever you want to talk about. It's pretty inexpensive. And, well, yeah, you do build a following of people, whether you know it or not. There'll be somebody listening to your podcast out there. Now, some of the tips, and as for what Forbes was looking for, they were looking for some solid tips of things that you can do when you're thinking about a podcast. So for me, I've been doing this for a few years now. I can't believe it. We're 140 some episodes into this. And hey, I keep coming back every week, the Lord willing, to bring you guys another message. And this is fun for me. So think about some of the things that you need to do. One, you can have a message, and this message can be about anything you want it to be. Two, you have to have commitment because, well, this is something, and you say, well, I want to make 12 episodes and that's it. You can have a season of a podcast and it has a beginning date and an end date. But one of the things that I found that over time, consistency is the best thing. So you don't want to start something that you're going to stop in 2 or 3 months. And, well, there are millions of podcasts out there, and, well, at least hundreds of thousands of them aren't even in operation anymore. So they'll be out there forever for somebody to live unless you take them down. But it also is something that you were not going to build any momentum or audience with. So one of the things that I mentioned to Forbes is about this commitment and something called pod fading. And pod fading, for all of you guys that already have podcasts out there, is something that happens to your listenership if you don't put out on a consistent schedule. If you end up thinking you wanted to have a weekly episode talk show and you put it out once a month. Some months you put it out 3 times a month, other months, and sometimes you put it out, every single week. Well, those bots and gremlins out there start saying your material is not worth promoting because you are not consistent enough. And that is a pretty big tip. It's going to take some commitment on your part once you decide to do this and say, okay, do I just want something that's going to be seasonal? And I talk about Christmas shopping deals and we run it for 3 months from the time of a little bit before Thanksgiving to running it after New Year's. And then the Christmas shopping season is over and people go about their normal business. And maybe you bring back another season, another year. And that's fine because, well, people do all types of things. They tell stories. They have dramatizations on shows. They interview shows. They just sit there and talk about life. You can talk about anything. And I've helped a few people over the years get started on their podcast and give them some decent advice, which is why I know Forbes came to talk about it. But I don't want you to think about starting a podcast as some big, complicated thing. It can be very simple. So the biggest thing is to have a message, have commitment to start it, and then just start having fun. One of the things that holds us back from so much success in life is that we don't have fun. We put so much pressure on ourselves from time to time, from day to day, that we feel like life is too serious to enjoy. We have to be serious and not have any fun. And I'll be honest, the first 20, 30, 40 episodes I put out, I was probably way too serious because I was thinking, in my mind that I'm operating that childhood radio station again. This is WJRP. But no, I wasn't doing that. And when I realized this is something that should be fun, things got a lot better. So think about things that you like to talk about. Commit to a schedule of some sort, and then have fun. And those would be some of my best tips that I could give you. And of course, I have the links to the Forbes article so you can read all the details about podcasting in that article. It's going to be in the show notes for you. But more importantly, I want to just bring on an expert that I've talked to many, many times. He's been on the stage multiple times on the License to Live conference. He is a great speaker, great friend, Dr. Nii Darko, host of Docs Outside the Box podcast, given over 300, maybe 50 something episodes now. He has grown his show into a mammoth monster. And I want you to hear what he says right after we come back from this break.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
Hey, Dr. Nii Darko, it is good to have you on. Look, I just want to ask you a couple questions. I know we have a lot to catch up on, but I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. You are the podcasting expert. I always come to you with podcasting questions, and recently Forbes reached out and wanted me as a podcast expert. So I said, well, first of all, you need to talk to Dr. Nii Darko, but if you can't reach him, I'll give you a few tips. But tell me this. What would you recommend somebody even making a podcast about?
What is it that you like talking about already? Or is there a passion or a side hustle that you already have? Or do you oftentimes find that people come to you and say, hey, bruh, can you tell me more about that topic you just sound really confident about it. Can you tell me more about it? Or I have a question about this. Can you let me know about it? Those things that you already probably either are asking questions about or are curious about, or people find out that you are already interested in, that could already be the concept of your podcast. And the cool thing about it, I put that in blue, is it doesn't have to be a medical topic, right? It doesn't have to be a medical topic. You don't have to start a podcast just because you have a clinic and you want more people to come to your clinic. You could start a podcast on movies and, on the Golden Girls or something like that. I don't know, whatever you want to start a podcast about, you can start one. Just let it be about something that you're passionate about.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it can just be about anything that you like. I guess that's one of the beauties of podcasting. It can be about your professional experience. It can be about your personal experience. It can be a completely fantastical experience. It doesn't really matter. Well, so what do you need to actually start your podcast?
All you need, it's very quick. A lot of you guys already have your laptops. Some of you may even have cell phones. That's all you need. It's just your laptop, your desktop, some headphones. And I'm talking about the cheap headphones right there that come with your cell phone, right? Or maybe a microphone that you want to buy. And then the recording software is free, called Audacity.
I like that, Dr. Nii, because most people tell you that they're thinking you have to have tons of equipment. You have to have some sort of fancy recording studio and all of this stuff. Now, sound quality is important. You do want to pay attention, but you have the technology virtually in your hands right now that, you don't need to go out and buy a bunch of fancy equipment. You can just get started. That's the most important thing, getting started. So, and then of course, this is the question people always want to know. Is it expensive to start a podcast?
As a matter of fact, if you follow me on Instagram, I did a post that talked about how to start a podcast for $5. Sorry, for $20. My bad. For $20, right? It's very cheap to start a podcast, right? And like I said, you can use your cell phone. The cell phone has an ability to record. You can call someone. It has a great microphone. So if you don't have a laptop or you don't want to use your laptop, you can use your cell phone.
Yeah, well, make sure you check out Dr. Nii. Thanks for coming on the show real quick, Dr. Nii. You always have so much, and I hope that I see you at License to Live 2023. But make sure you're checking him out. Go to drneedarko.com or any of his social media. He's active there all the time, especially on Instagram. And you can find him at Dr. Nii Darko. So that's DRNIIDARKO. Wow. So look, folks, podcasting is not very complicated. It's not even very difficult, especially if you're having some fun. You'll be able to change, lots of minds and even change your outlook on your own thing. And what I'm always talking about, doing something different, making yourself stick out amongst the crowd, be more yourself, because these are things that can build your brand and make you even have a higher value than your current job as you are looking for that next job. Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disenfranchised with their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And while you're there, hey, I don't mind if you give me some recommendations, say if you guys evaluate this program, because I want to make it the best show that I can possibly make it. And we're going to continue on with these podcasting tips. And I'm going to encourage you to do something different. Change your life. Come around to do new things for the new year. And I will see you guys next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.